So if there were any errors, they'll be here, right? And so we don't want to redirect if there are any errors at all. So I'm going to say data errors is equal to order errors here. Okay, so this is normal, and then the data is sent through there. So all I have to do is check if this is an array, if count errors like that is greater than 0, then there were some errors, so we should not redirect. So I'm going to do this. So let's put equal to 0 here actually. So if the orders, because this is an array, so if the array has no items, meaning there's no errors, then we can redirect. If it does, then we're going to omit this and then just show the checkout page again. Okay, so here let me copy that, come down here, let's add summary here. So you can name it anything you want, this view. It can be a checkout underscore summary, that's up to you, just so you be maybe very specific, or it can be checkout dot summary, that's entirely up to you. So let's put a dot there. I think that is fine. Okay, so what do we have here? So if things go well from the summary, this is when we can go to the thank you page. But yeah, here we're going to leave everything as is. And then remember that we won't have this post data anymore at this point, because once we post the data, it comes here. Okay, and all this data is already there, the rows, the post, all this is already there. So instead, what we will do here, instead of creating an order thingy here, what I want us to do is save the unsaved data, which is, let's see, we don't need this because it will always be there. The session ID will always be there, so this is not required. Out of here. And then what else do we need? We don't need this model because we're not actually saving anything. The only thing we need to do is save the post data. Whatever is in here, we need to save. So how do we do that? So how did we save the data in the rows? It's inside, it comes from the, where does it come from? Let's go up a notch and look, because here rows is equal to false, but then it becomes something else. So rows is equal to select. Okay, so we are selecting the products from the session cart here. That's what creates the rows. So which means we can recreate this again from the session. So we don't need to save that data. The only data we need to save for the next refresh is the post data, because the post data contains this new data that the user has added through these boxes here. Meanwhile, what they have bought is saved in the rows, and this is user URL, which will always be there. The session ID will always be there. So this is the only data that we're going to lose once we refresh the page. So what we got to do is to, okay, actually here, wait a minute. Okay, so the issue here is save order, right? One moment here. The problem is we are only getting the errors once we run the save order thingy here, but we don't want to save the order, but we still want to check if the user entered correct data, right? So what I'm thinking here is we should, in the controllers here, not in the models, where are our models? So order class right there. So this is the one that is saying save order, but here what we want really is not the part that is saving, but the part that is asking these questions, verifying this data. That's the part that we need. Okay, so what I'm going to do is create another function that just does this so I can leverage it when I want. So like for example here, I'll create a public function like so, and I'm going to say validate like that. Okay, and then we will pass in the post data there like so. Okay, so validate, and then once we are done with validation, I'm going to copy this, put it here. Then I will return the errors at the very end of the day. So where did I return the errors here as well? Let me see what I did. Oh, no need to return the errors because we can just check what's in there, right? So errors. Yeah, also it's important to reset it once we are here, because if we are using the instance multiple times, we're going to get errors from the previous time. So let's just say this errors is equal to an empty array like so. Okay, that's better. And then once we do things, we add to the array. Okay, so this is the data validation right here, data validate. And then once we validate the data and we see that there are no errors, then we can save here. And then now when we are saving, we don't need this part here at all, out, because we would have verified this data already before we run this part here. Okay, so looking good here, and we've changed that to validate. So let me come back here for a second, check out, and instead of save order, we're going to change that to validate. Okay, so validate this data, and the only one we need is the first one there. We don't need these other guys, so outer there. Get countries. Okay, so this other stuff is for when we are not actually posting, it's needed, so we're going to leave it there. Okay, that way once we don't get any errors, then we can redirect. Okay, I think we are in business here. Only thing is on this other side here, let me delete that. I'll leave it there for now. So everything here, we're going to save order, but instead of just directly saving the order here, we want to verify the data before we can do anything. And also here, we need to save this data once it's validated. So if everything is okay, actually whether it's okay or not, we should save this data somehow. So we're going to save this in the session. I'm going to go session and say post underscore data. You can give it any name you want, doesn't really matter, is equal to post, something like that. Okay, so once we post, we save the post data. At this point, whether it's the post data is correct or not, whether there are no errors or not, we just save it, because next time we're going to save it again anyway, so we'll overwrite it with every round we go through here. All right, that way also, if let's say I make a mistake here, so let me type something. Okay, now I don't put this, of course I'm going to get some errors, but I want to be able to retain those. So let me, okay, so on line 69, there's unidentified variable order, this one, order validate. So I made a mistake to remove this creation of order, copy there, and put it here. Okay, that should solve the problem. Refresh. Here we go. Okay, so please enter a valid country, please enter a valid state. So everything seems to be working fine still. But you see that I don't get the values that I had put here, which means I'll have to start again if I make an error, and that can be frustrating for a user. So in the next video, we'll look at replacing this data here that was originally there so that you can easily fix an error. And then once we are done with that, we can take the user to a summary. I'll see you in the next video.